All right, Cleveland Browns. Trevor's going B- here for the Browns. Biggest move was trading for Jerry Jeudy from the Denver Broncos. Not a lot of other big moves, and also one of those drafts where they didn't have a first-round pick. They had a second, didn't pick a ton. So one of the drafts that I think didn't grade very highly, didn't look like it brought in a ton of impact players just because they didn't have the draft capital this year. But bring in Jameis Winston, though, too, as contingency at the quarterback position.
What a fascinating quarterback room that is, Dan.
Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, Tyler Huntley, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Yeah, bringing back Zadarius Smith is, one of their most significant moves this offseason. I think that's a big deal for them. But, yeah, they had done most of the work already, and this was about kind of just keeping it going. They didn't actually have to do anything wild and crazy this offseason. So, yeah, I don't have an awful lot. What's interesting is that they didn't attack running back in a fairly hard way, like after Nick Chubb's catastrophic injury, just tearing his knee to shreds. They've kind of forced him to take a pay cut, but they haven't necessarily gone out and said, all right, what if Nick Chubb is never the same again? Do we need another guy? Now they've got guys on the roster already. Jerome Ford, Deontay Foreman is definitely a viable option to get a lot of carries or a big workload if Nick Chubb isn't the same guy. But they didn't prioritize that and say, we need to go get another, high-end running back from somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we've said this a lot about the Browns. Most of the roster looks pretty good, right? They didn't have to make a ton of splash moves. And look, say what you want about Amari Cooper. I think he's been a very good player for the majority of his career. And say what you want about Jerry Jeudy. It's they had to pay him, right? They got to pay Jeudy some money. But getting both of those receivers for mid-round draft picks, basically, I love those as moves. I'm not, the Cooper move obviously wasn't this year, but I do like that as a strategy that the Browns have employed. We're talking about how the Bills are struggling to replace Stephon Diggs and putting all their eggs in the Keon Coleman basket, and how, that there's some boom or bust to that. Well, the Browns are finding some pretty good receivers, or at least receivers with high-end potential. I don't think Jeudy has gotten close to the potential, certainly not that the NFL thought or that you and I thought that he might have coming out. But he's still shown those flashes as a very good route runner, a guy who can get open and can make some plays and be a complementary piece to Amari Cooper. And you're getting him for pennies on the dollar from a draft capital standpoint, even though, yes, you have to invest, actual cash for him. Offensive line looks good again for the Browns. I think, for the future, figuring out left tackle. Is DeJuan Jones ever going to move over there? Probably not. So that's going to be next offseason. Do they have a left tackle replacement for Jedrick Wills when his contract runs out? Probably not on the roster, but everything else looks pretty solid, top to bottom. Didn't have to do a ton. With their second-round pick, getting Michael Hall from Ohio State just adds more depth to that defensive line, and we know how good that defensive line was last year and all the pieces that they added around Myles Garrett. So, yeah, I think you should feel pretty good about where the Browns are right now. And like other teams, it depends on what happens at the quarterback position.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, that's everything for them. And, I mean, you said Jameis Winston coming in as a backup there. It's not like they can do much at the quarterback position. You can't even sort of go, well, what if he doesn't play well this year? Because you're stuck with him.
Jameis gives you that Flacco run potential.
Yeah. But my point being, you can, they couldn't have done anything radical at the quarterback position because of the contract they've signed with Deshaun Watson. Like, they have tied themselves to him with that fully guaranteed deal. It's not like they could have even done anything crazy and sort of built this contingency. It's like, no, we are stuck with Deshaun Watson. Let's bring in Jameis so that if, he goes down and gets hurt, we have a better situation. But he has to be the guy.